Welcome to Retirement Key Radio with Abe Abish.
First, Abe, I must ask you about how y'all's vacation was. You and your wife have just gotten back from a week in Charleston, South Carolina, a place that you like to vacation. It's what summertime's all about, man.
We heard some of those y'alls down there in Charleston, South Carolina, Heather. We did for sure.
I know.
We stay in Isle of Palm, South Carolina. It's one of the closest beaches to downtown Charleston, South Carolina. And if you haven't been down to the Charleston, South Carolina area, I would highly encourage you going. It's beautiful. It's laid back. It's beachy, and then you have the city downtown, and it's a foodie town. I mean, if you like going out to eat and trying new foods, and it is a restaurant scene, let me tell you, and it's a great place to be. A lot of people moving down there.
Really? Why is that happening?
And to the surrounding areas, Myrtle, Hilton Head, Savannah. Well, you've got the Carolinas, right? So you've got warmer weather. You've got, I think, slightly lower cost of living, although I know the Charleston area and surrounding areas is not that much cheaper than the D.C. metro area.
Right.
But I would say slightly lower cost of living and for sure warmer temperatures throughout the year.
Well, we can at least give a nod to the warmer temperatures after several. I mean, I went to Virginia Tech. I dealt with the Virginia mountain winters for my college years.
Yeah.
So I
the winters in the D.C. metro area are long.
Rough.
They're long, So yeah,
we are cold.
We have a lot of clients who are who live down there during the winters and then come back up here, because it's super hot down there during the summers.
That's right. It's kind of a flip, if you will, season to season. But it's great to know that you do have that experience level of working with folks in this transitional phase of life when it comes to our retirement plans. It's often not just about leaving the 9-to-5 behind. Sometimes it's about making more of a home for ourselves in a different city, whether that's just a destination or because of family or friends in those areas, that you can help us figuring out those kinds of financial obligations as well. It's obviously a big part of a lot of folks' retirement plans. It's actually interesting because we're always, of course, all looking to save money and ideas on that. But speaking of geographical locations, Abe, our neighbors to the east are getting some surprising advice. Certified public accountants in New Jersey actually have a surprising money-saving suggestion for some of their clients. Move to another state. Abe, 70% of the Garden State's CPAs say that they've actually given that advice to a client because of New Jersey's high taxes and high cost of living. Now, I understand that some states tax more than others, but I have to feel like that there is an easier way for us to manage our tax liabilities.
Well, that's definitely one way, Heather, is to simply move out of that state. And I have I was born in New Jersey, and I have a lot of family that still lives in New Jersey, in northern New Jersey. And the property taxes, my God, are they high? Some of the highest in the country.
Really?
And so there is a mass exodus from New Jersey and New York City and, the state of New York and just some of those northern states down south. And a lot of reason because of the state and property taxes in those states. And so we just had actually recent clients that they became clients of ours. They called into the show and they did just that. They were living in Maryland, and taxes aren't cheap in Maryland, and they were looking for a state with tax favored treatment. So they moved to Delaware. And what was interesting is that they didn't move, where they were in Maryland and where they moved to in Delaware was not too far away. But Delaware doesn't have state income tax. So that was pretty interesting. They were looking to downsize not only their home, but their cost of living and taxes as well. And so by moving to Delaware, they just saved, basically 5-point-something%, per year in state income tax. So that's a decent savings, when you're bringing in $150,000 of household income. That might be a $5,000 to $7,000 annual savings that's now back in their pockets simply by moving, state to state. So when they called into the show, that was one of the things they wanted to discuss with us, Heather, and to put together a comprehensive retirement plan that also helped them put all the pieces together with this transition, talking through this transition with us from their working career into retirement and this transition from moving from Gaithersburg, Maryland to Lewis, Delaware. Which is right where the ferry is. As a matter of fact, you can take a ferry from Lewis, Delaware to Cape May, New Jersey.
Oh, really?
And so yep. So that's pretty interesting. But they ended up in Delaware. One of the reasons why is to avoid that state income tax. So they came to us with about $1.5 million saved. Pretty good job of saving, retiring this year in their mid-60s. And they came to us really because they had no plan. And like so many people in this area, Heather, we work very hard in this area. And most people that we meet with, in their mid 50s to 70s, typically have $1 million to $3 million saved. Sometimes we see $5 million, $10 million and more. And sometimes we see people with just a few $100,000. But most people have done enough, have saved enough, have accumulated enough. But they need help with this transition from their working career into retirement. They need help putting together an income generating plan that they can follow and monitor for the next 30 years of their lives. Having 401ks and IRAs and TSPs is fantastic. It's necessary to have money saved to help you generate income in retirement. But if that's all you have are these retirement accounts, that's not a comprehensive retirement plan. What about, Heather, all the things that can actually mess that savings up?
Yeah.
Higher taxes, like we just talked about, moving from one state to another, just save them state income tax every single year, which is fantastic. Wow. What about higher taxes on those TSPs, IRAs, and 401ks? That's something we need to consider. We can't just ignore it and hope that taxes are where they are today or lower in the future. What about living long, longevity risk and healthcare risk and market risk and sequence risk? The risk that to any retiree that when we're pulling money out of our investment accounts for the first times in our lives, that the market's also down. And I don't know about you, Heather, but the markets are at all-time highs right now. Stock market's at all-time highs.
Yep.
Bitcoin and crypto is all over the place.
Yep.
The real estate market and values are so high. So, look, we know what goes up must come down.
That's right.
We have to have a plan. We have to have defense for the unpredictable, right? And predictable at that. We know what goes up must come down. So, having an income-generating plan that protects you as much as possible from all of these risks that can mess up a great investment plan is exactly what most retirees need. That's what this couple called in for, and that's exactly what we help them with.
A retirement account is not a retirement plan. This is an idea that I feel a lot of us miss the mark on with our own thoughts about approaching our retirement years. If you have 401ks and IRAs, so many of us do. If you've saved $1 million or $2 million, like so many of the folks that Abe and his team talk to, that's awesome. But do you now have a plan in place, a strategy that works to turn all of those savings into an income stream for your retirement years, one that includes a tax strategy? If not, now is the time to get to work on that. And you can always learn more on our website anytime. Just visit us, retirementkeyradio.com. So, Abe, besides taxes, another big topic of conversation in the financial world is inflation. It's the buzzword as of late. You just can't turn on the news these days without seeing yet another story about the rising inflation rate. So Morningstar's Christine Benz says that this is prompting a lot of retirees to wonder if they should consider a lifetime annuity that includes built-in inflation protection.
Well, it certainly sounds attractive, especially as we're all more worried about inflation. The key thing I would keep in mind, though, is that the pricing for the inflation protection tends to swing around a little bit. And we were recently interviewing an expert on annuities for our podcast, and his point was that the inflation protection for annuities had just gone through the roof, and that retirees might reasonably just sort of accept that risk, because right now my fear is that such inflation protection is pretty expensive.
So this is interesting, Abe. I didn't realize that you could essentially pick and choose different features that you might want in an annuity. So does this mean that we could potentially customize an annuity to fit our particular situations?
Absolutely, Heather. You can customize an annuity just like you can and should customize your investment portfolio to meet your needs and risk tolerance in retirement. And so, just think of having layers of protection wrapped around your retirement plan.
Got it.
That includes protection from market losses, obviously. It also includes protection against, a healthcare event down the road. It includes or should include protection against inflation, which we just talked about.
Yep.
And annuities can create inflation protection. They can create rising income that increases over time, so that if you live into your 80s or 90s, that income continues to last you the rest of your life, but increases at the same same time to hedge against inflation. And obviously you can hedge against inflation a lot of different ways,
right,
with hard asset classes like silver and gold, commodities, real estate, perhaps even cryptocurrencies, but a lot of different ways.
Okay.
And bottom line is you want a comprehensive plan that has multiple asset classes included in the plan,
right,
to help you hedge against these types of things. So we just had a lady call into the show, and that was her concern. It was living long. What is inflation going to do to my assets and my retirement plan if I do live into my 90s? Mm-hmm. What is my income going to look like? Is it going to be adjusted for inflation? And what can you do to help me address a potential healthcare event?
Right.
So those were her problems. That's why exactly she called into the show. And we helped her to address these things by diversification, by splitting some monies up for liquidity, for emergencies, by splitting some funds up for income. Mm-hmm. You know, annuities can be in that income bucket, bonds and dividends from stocks and so forth. And then by splitting some of her funds up for long-term growth.
Okay.
By having a well-diversified, comprehensive plan, Heather, where multiple asset classes are involved, where a written retirement income plan is written for you that you can follow and track every year with a professional, you're going to do yourself a big favor. You're going to be as proactive as possible, and you're going to do the best job you can in addressing all of these risks that can mess up a great accumulation and investment plan.
Find out more at retirementkeyradio.com.
Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Abraham Abish is licensed in your state, please call 571-577-9968. Abish Financial Services is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Abraham Abish, NPM number 770-3575.